So, um, so just a quick recap. What our goal is in the class is that we're doing right now is to end up learning two different primary skills. And those primary skills are one, to learn how to build AI automations, and the second skill to be able to know how to use AI to assist you in actually building full scale applications. Essentially, what you normally would need to know, you would need to be a full blown computer programmer to be able to do. I myself happen to be a computer programmer. I've been coding for over 20 years. And, now with the technology that we have here, at our fingertips, we're able to do a lot of stuff that would have been unthinkable for the average person to do back in the day. And I want to, you know, give you the insight in order to do that. And personally, myself, I've also been teaching people for the last, for about 6 years, the people that have no technical background, how to actually code and program and get jobs at tech companies. I've done that for a while. Those classes would be between $10,000 and $20,000 for people to take. Back when I was doing them all the time, but obviously you're here now, and you didn't spend that much money, and you're getting the same general type of access and the same type of outcomes, assuming that you follow us all the way through this journey that we're doing every Saturday. So, what we did in the last couple of classes, in the first class, and also if you're new here and you weren't in any of the other classes, the three classes that we did prior to this are in the school community. If you are in Digital Boss Code, and if you are one of my people, you should already know how to get to it. Because you would have got the Dropbox. So make sure that you have access to one of those things, so you'd be able to see the previous videos. And essentially, what we did in the first video is we kind of went over just the whole entire technical landscape. So we went through um, APIs, went through how the internet works. We talked about where AI fits into the landscape, and also did a kind of a preview of where we're eventually going, the type of applications we'll be able to build, and the type of automations that we're talking about being able to build. And we're going through automations first, and then after automations are down, then we're going to go into building full applications. And a quick reminder of what I said, that where we would eventually get to. Let me just grab it real quick. Thing that I'm going to eventually show you how to make, but you'll need to know how to know automation and a little bit of code to be able to eventually get to, is we're going to build our own SaaS application like this one here, um, that you can essentially, that you can sell, monetize, or whatever, that you see people using all the time to go make their AI clones and all that type of stuff. Is what I'm going to show you how to make yourself, using the APIs, et cetera, and using automations. So, for example, the things that are going to be included in this are, people will be able to generate AI text. People will be able to do AI image generation. People will be able to generate code. They'll be able to communicate via chatbot. They'll be able to do speech to text, right? And so you'll be able to take speech that they have and automatically get that transcribed. And also, you'll be able to import a PDF document that could be about anything, and you'll be able to chat with the PDF document in real time. So those are things that your clients would be able to do once we get there, but it's going to take us a little bit of time. It's going to be essentially like the final project. Um, but and we're also going to make it so that you've probably seen in a lot of these applications, they use like a token system where like you can pay $40 and you get 300 tokens and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how to set that up, as well as to do like a regular $5.99 a month or $6.99, whatever you want to charge people. And we'll talk about the unit economics of that. So that is where we are essentially going to bring ourselves to. We're not there yet, we're at the stage where we're learning how to actually do the automations that a lot of businesses need. So, so we talked about that in the first lesson. The second lesson, um, we went a little bit deeper, and then I showed you some examples of an API and what it looks like to fetch API data. So we went over that. And the third lesson, we actually got ourselves set up with N8N and included and uploaded our very first automation. We don't know how to use it yet, but what we're going to talk about today in the next weeks is you're going to learn how to use it, and then we're going to build some more advanced automations that do a lot of crazier things. And the first big automation we're going to make is we're going to make an automation to build a faceless Instagram page that will automatically generate content for you and post it to Instagram and do all those different things. Technically, it'll work for Instagram Threads, X, and I'm forgetting something. The other ones that it will upload to, but we'll make it so that it can work for all of those. Do the research for you, create the content, and you'll be able to review the content. So that's where we're going. That's our goal. And that is that. Let me see. Yes, it was Facebook. Thank you. Like, what was the other one? Facebook. There we go. Ooh, brain fart. All right. So I have the chat open now. So yeah, if you have any questions while we're going through, feel free to ask. You could ask in the chat, and if it's something we need to talk about live, we definitely can. I'll try to look over the chat as we're going. So let me put this in slideshow mode. I think I'm sharing already, right? Can y'all? What do y'all see? I think y'all see it. Yep. Okay. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the slideshow here. Oh, before I do that, I should be able to share this. So if you want to follow along by looking directly at the slides, I'm gonna copy this link. And I'll put it in the chat so you can go directly to the slides if you want. But I'm gonna go through them today. All right, awesome. So today, like I just said, this is going to be our next installment of Code Different. And we're going to be we're going to do a quick masterclass. Actually, I shouldn't say quick. It's going to be like a couple hours. We're going to do a masterclass on what N8N and AI agents are. Because now that you have your account, you've seen how to upload the JSON, you've seen the little pieces. Now it's okay. It's like, okay, boom, I have this. But what the heck do I do with it? Or what am I supposed to do with it? So that's what we're going to be talking about now. So that's what we're going to cover. And the agenda for today is we're going to talk about N8N workflow automation. We're going to learn what N8N is, how it works. We're also going to talk about the difference between AI agents and chatbots, which is something that a lot of people have like asked me about a number of times and said, okay, cool. What's the difference between this and like doing like a custom GPT or something like that? And there's a gigantic, huge difference. And I want to make sure we're super clear about the level of power between them. Like making like a little GPT bot or something like that you might see people having or even people selling, which they're good and they're useful. But that's like buying a house cat. And what I'm trying to show you how to do is have a tiger. So difference between a house cat and a Bengal tiger. It's a huge difference in power. We're going to talk about why that is. And for those that follow me on LinkedIn and saw my gigantic LinkedIn post about it, well, then you might already kind of know where I'm getting at there. We're also, if we have time, we're going to try to get into the workflow that we demoed last time, just because it's been, over a week since we did the last one. And so just want to, probably run through that automation again, just so you could see it if we have time. We'll run through and do that. And then we're also going to talk about some advanced concepts that we can explore those next level automation ideas. I think that before you can do them, you need to kind of like conceptualize what it is you're trying to get done. So that is going to be our goal for today. So what is N8N, right? It's pronounced N8N. What is that? N8N is an open source tool, just like it says here. And when you hear something is an open source tool, all that literally means is it's a tool that you can utilize without having to pay for. And also it means that the code is anybody can audit the code, anybody can view the code. So it's not inside of a black box where nobody knows how it works. So if somebody knows how to program, they can go on to GitHub right now, open up the N8N code, and read the entire code for N8N from start to finish and customize it, make changes to it, do anything, or just run it as is. And if you have your own infrastructure, like you have your own servers and stuff like that, you can take the N8N code and run it yourself on your own instances. And this is starting to get to the promise that I made some of you at the beginning when I was trying to explain that the more you know how to do this technical stuff, the cheaper everything gets. So I know as you're getting on, you're trying to get on all these different AI platforms. You're starting to see this one costs $50. This one costs 126. This one's 37. This one's 41, 22, 10. If you have one server, which we're eventually going to get to how to spin up your own servers with RunPod and DigitalOcean. I actually write those names in here because there's two we're going to use. There's a third one that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. But I know some people like to look ahead. So I'm going to tell you what the three of them are. I'm going to write it inside the chat. So you can't see what I'm typing, but you'll see it in the chat in a second. RunPod, DigitalOcean, and Amazon Web Services. Right? And you can Google what those are another time. But if you know how to be a little bit more dangerous technically, you can actually take a lot of these open source tools like N8N, and you can run one $50 server. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then you can put as many AI tools on that server as you want. And if you're the only one using it, you'll never overuse it because a $50 server can handle thousands of requests. And you can't make all those requests at the same time for yourself. You know what I mean? Even if you have automations running because you're one person. So $50, and if you want to be fancy, $100, you can have your own AI. You can have your own image generators. You could have your own avatar of this. You could have your own clone generator, all the different stuff like that for yourself. And also, if you know how to do it as well, and you want to sell it, you could also run it yourself on your own servers, which we'll eventually get to, and then you could charge other people for it the same way a lot of these other applications are charging people for. So that is something that you'll be able to do, and it's actually a whole lot easier than you think it is. Once you can do an automation, you get that kind of down. You used to pointing and clicking and turning stuff on. As long as you know what the puzzle pieces are, it gets pretty easy as you go further down the line. So 100% keep that in mind. So it's an open source tool that, like I said, if you have your own service, you can run yourself. You can also run it locally on your own computer for free too. And it also has a visual editor, which allows you to build the workflows with the drag and drop interface. So you don't have to code in order to be able to use it. Once you spin it up, it then gives you a nice little interface that you can use where you can basically drag and drop your flows into. And that's what you kind of saw us doing, in the previous lesson. And it also comes with hundreds of integrations, at least 200. I think it might be up to 400 now at this point. But you can pretty much do almost anything inside of N8N. And if you are willing to pay somebody to modify it for you, like say you're running it on your own, you want to pay somebody to modify it for you, which isn't expensive. Like for example, I know me and my team, like if you have N8N and you want to add an integration that doesn't exist, Depending on integration, it's like between $100 and $200 one-time fee, and we'll go ahead and we'll modify the code to add your additional integration of a tool that is not integrated out of the box. So it's not super expensive. There's plenty of other people that do that as well. And if you know how to code, or you learn how to do that, you could charge other people for it too. So it's really easy. Just like anybody who's a gamer, maybe there may not be any gamers here. Just like how you have game mods, you can modify N8N and add extra integrations. So that's the good thing about it being open source. It's no closed box. Anybody can touch the code and change it and extend it to be more than what it already is. So it's very powerful for that reason. And a lot of these tools that you're paying $50 a month for and $100 a month for, $20 a month for, you know, a lot of them behind the scenes are using literally N8N or Comfy UI or something else like that underneath the hood in order to work. So just keep all that in mind. I see a question. What type of extra integrations? I can't think of any off the top of my head because they have almost everything you could think of. But an integration that N8N would have by default would be something like it can connect to your Gmail, right? Like it can connect to your Gmail. It can connect to Google Sheets. It can connect to to your Calendly. It can connect to all these different things, right? But let's say you find a tool that you really, really like, you know, I don't know what type of cool tool it would be, but let's say a tool that just happens to exist, right? That isn't integrated inside of in N8N. Somebody who knows how to program can as long as you're using the local version of it, um, you know, that's cheaper anyway if you run it yourself instead of running it in the cloud and paying like the $9 a month or $20 a month, whatever N8N will charge you if you have them host it for you. But if you host it yourself, then the person will be able to actually come in, change the code a little bit, and then make it so it connects to that other tool that wasn't added natively. So it's very powerful for that reason. So how does N8N work? So that's pretty much the big thing. And if you're a note-taking kind of person, we're going to go through this a little bit slower so you have time to take notes, because this is the important thing. If you get this down, then you're going to start to see how everything works as we go through the next few weeks, because I do want to say this. The reason why I'm structuring this lesson so much with PowerPoints and all that is because if you don't get what I'm doing right now, what we're going to do the next weeks aren't going to make any sense, because you have to understand these concepts, because what we're doing every week from here on out is every class we're going to build a new automation till we get automations down. Then we're going to assume you know how to do automations good, and then move on to application building, right? To we're going to start off with making like our own kind of bootleg version of ChatGPT, but make it ourselves, and then keep building until we get to that application I showed you earlier. So you need to actually definitely take this information and make it make sense to yourself. So definitely ask me questions if you have them. So the way N8N works, it has a couple of pieces, right? And you have to remember these pieces. Is that everything in N8N starts with a trigger, right? It has to start with a trigger. And what I mean by that is that there has to be something that tells the automation to start. And think of a trigger like a light switch inside your house. Let's say if you have a garbage disposal. Let's say you have a switch in the house, a garbage disposal. The garbage disposal works, but it only is going to work when you flip the switch. And that switch is the trigger. There has to be something that triggers your automation to start. And you've seen these, if anybody's been on social media, you see a lot of people are using, comments as triggers. Comment hello below my post, and I'll send you my free ebook. Comment hey below my post, and I'll send you this. Or comment AI underneath my post, and you'll get this. Some of you, the reason why you're here is because you commented AI underneath one of my posts, right? So you've seen these triggers happen before, right? But there's a bunch of different types of triggers that we're going to get into today, right? So it's not just like, hey, somebody can just comment underneath a post. It's a bunch of different things that you can create as triggers to tell the automation, when this happens, get to work, right? Then you have action nodes. right? And that's kind of a fancy word, nodes, but that's just what they call them. But they're basically the steps in the process of the automation. And basically, these action nodes, they perform tasks. Like, for example, you get an action node that sends emails, an action node that creates a record inside of a database, basically stores information. Let's say if you were using this automation to handle like your CRM stuff, so you don't have to pay MailChimp or something like that for it. You can handle it yourself. Well, um, every single time somebody like subscribes to your mailing list, you create a record. Every single time somebody purchases something from your e-commerce store, you might want to create a shipping label or whatever, like whatever those things might be. But you have nodes that basically have instructions in them to do something when something occurs. So that's what that is. Also, you can transform data. So basically, what that means is you take data that you already received and change the data to be formatted a certain way. Let's say, for example, you may get a list of people, right? I don't know, like let's say you're a realtor and people keep filling out stuff in order to say that they're interested in buying a certain house that you have listed, right? And they have to fill out a questionnaire. You can sort them, let's say, for example, by credit score. And you may want to transform the data to sort the people by credit score, or maybe even filter out people with credit that you don't like their credit, that you don't like their answers to the question for this particular property. Like it seems like by the way they answered, it would be difficult for them to get qualified for a $700,000 house. So you might just filter them out. Those are data transformations, right? Where you take data that you have and you change it in some way to better fit what you're trying to do. And then also applying logic. And that's one of the benefits of AI, right? Because back in the day, computers couldn't apply logic. You had to do all the logic. It just, does whatever you tell it. But now you can have the AI actually do things like, hey, after you filter out the people, give everybody a score of of 1 to 20, based on these parameters, and let me know everybody that has a score above 14 because of A, B, C, and D. And it can actually go ahead and figure that out, just like an employee would be able to do for you, right? So those are the type of things that you could do there. I see a question. How much is this, and do you set it up for customers? So the answer is yes, I do set it up for people. But normally, what I do, if you're interested in that, you can talk to me about it offline if you're not familiar with like my offerings. But I run something called a white label agency, where essentially me and my team, we do the technical stuff and we let people sell it on their behalf. And I do that on purpose because I have a decent following and I don't want to, one, it's easier for me, then I don't have to work directly with the clients. And then secondly, I don't ever want to be competing with the people with, competing with my people at the end of the day. Right. So one of two things: either you just learn stuff from me and then you do it yourself and we show you how to do that. Or if you just want to sell it, we can take care of it for you, me and my team, and you just sell it and you don't have to mention my name ever. And there's, a number of, when you start to see like the offerings and stuff that we're doing, and then you see other people's code and stuff like that, you'll see like some people that use our stuff or don't use our stuff, etc. Right? Corey just said something. Corey is a head developer, so you could always ask him some questions about that if you want. But by all means, feel free to just reach out to me and let me know if you want to do that. That's always a possibility. Okay, so let's continue. So trigger nodes, right? So remember we talked about we have to have a trigger, right? Everything starts with a trigger. And the different types of triggers that you can have are, and there's a number of different ones, but these are the most common ones, right? So the common ones are going to be time-based, right? So time-based means that you might say that every single morning at 5 a.m., I want you to do these things, right? Every day at 9 a.m., every day at 10 a.m., every day at 3 p.m., etc., right? That's something that you can do. Then also you could do event-based, which happens every single time something occurs. Like, for example, every single time you get an email, right? Every time you get an email, you can trigger the automation to occur. It might be read the email, you know, summarize the email, whatever it might be. So that is another one. Another one that you can use is a webhook, and that's going to begin when an external service sends data. So, for example, some external service, let's say, for example, like Stripe, you know, a lot of people use Stripe for their e-commerce stores, etc. Every time you get a payment in Stripe, you can have your automation trigger to go do something. And then manual, which also works sometimes too. That could be, for example, like the one that we're eventually going to make in the next couple of weeks, which is the faceless page assistant that we were talking about. You may not want it to run every single day at 5 p.m. You may want to have to, you know, turn it on and tell it to, hey, go ahead and make me 50 pieces of content, and it'll go ahead and make you 50 pieces of content real quick, and then you can go and look at them, right? Rather than it just automatically doing that all the time. That might be something you want to do. So those are the four main ones that you're going to run into. A time-based, right, which is also called a cron for chronological, but you'll see that word a lot in the tech space, something called cron. Whenever you see cron, that just means that's just short for chronological, and that just means that it's going to do it at a specific time of the day, right? You might hear it called a cron job, right? It means like it's going to run at a specific time. And cron as in CHRON, cron, right? And those are time-based things, right? And like we said, event-based, when something happens, do this. When you get data from an external service like Stripe or Shopify or whatever, and then manual, it does it whenever you just turn it on. So you turn it on and then it runs. Right? Any question about that before I move on? If you got a question, put it in the chat. Cool. Seems like everybody's got it. Cool. So, and then also we have action nodes like we talked about, right? Which is doing the work, right? And for example, you could have it send notifications, right? You could have it enter data. You could have it make an API request, which some of you may remember API requests and may not. We did that in the second class, right? And we did it manually. We didn't do it with an automation, but you saw that we went and we were actually calling to a service called OMDB API, right? We were making a call to it, the Open Movie Database. We made a call to Open Movie Database, and it gave us back data about movies, right? And that's a really, really simple API. We also could make another API call where we're making an API call to YouTube to fetch certain YouTube videos. We could also make an API call to do pretty much anything, right? And all the API is the means by which you communicate with another application. API stands for Application Programming Interface, right? And that's the way that you make two different separate applications talk to each other, right? So essentially the way you want to think about an API is, let's say this is your app, and I'm just going to write YA for your app, not YN, YA for your app. And so you have your app here, right? And let's say you also want to talk to YouTube, right? I want to talk to YouTube YT, right? So you have I see a question. What's an API? Okay, what I'm actually answering that now. And what week of class is this? This is my first. This is the fourth one. This is week 4. The first 3 were demonstrations, and now we're talking about like the nitty gritty. So it's not a bad one to start off with. Just make sure that you watch the other 3, you know, at your earliest convenience. But it's not like if you didn't see those lessons, you'll be lost necessarily. because I'm talking about it as we're going through. So this is kind of like a culmination. So I would say last week would have been real. The last time we did a class 3 would have been really hard without class 1 and 2. But this one can live on its own technically, without that other information, kind of the way it's structured. Cool, cool. I see other people their first time. Cool, cool. A lot of first timers. Cool. But I will say, I'm gonna have to put a post on the community that that don't come to the next class without watching this one, because you won't be able to do the next class if you don't watch this one we're doing right now. Right. Um, I'll share. Okay, we're your class. Yeah, I'll share a link. If I'm assuming if you're asking that, you probably are in Digital Boss Code, probably. So then it's gonna be in the school community, right? I'm gonna assume anybody asking those questions are in the school community, right? Cool, cool. So what we're going to so when it comes to an API request, right? Essentially, what's happening is an application that you have is going to talk to another application, right? And back in the past, before any of us were coding, there had to be some type of mechanism in place. Oh, let me just show real quick, actually, because a couple people asked it. Let me drag it real quick. So if you're in Digital Boss Code and you need to get to um the lessons, go to oh wait, let me get rid of this annotations, or it's going to be in the way. Uh-oh. Can y'all see that? I can't tell if y'all can see it. Y'all can see the school community? Okay, good. Um, let me clear this real fast. I'm gonna bring it back though. But if you go in here and you go to classroom, there's a part here. Shameless plug. AI Gold Rush is great because I made it too. Um, but there's a thing that says coding systems. You click on that one. That is where you see all the classes. So the first one is here. The second one we talked about APIs. The third one where we talked about you know where we showed how you actually upload stuff, etc. And then the fourth one is going to be the one we're doing right now, which is the master class, right? Um, so that's where everything is going to live. So if you go to the classroom, right, and you go down to where it says coding system, it says code different recordings, that's where you want to go. And then for the people that end up being ahead, you're going to be able to go to these where it says AI under the hood and AI research workflow automation with Perplexity. This is where I'm going to put the advanced stuff once we get further into the material. So you'll be able to come here and get the advanced stuff that's like that's like beyond what we're doing live in the classes. But these are going to assume that you are able to keep up with what's inside the regular class. They probably should all be three of them next to each other, but they're not. So you just have to know where to get them from. But those are the three ones that have to do what we're talking about, right? So again, if you go right here to where it says coding systems, that's where all of these videos are going to be. And if this is your first time, you may not know that we're doing about 25 of these every Saturday. So basically for 25 lessons straight, we're going to build you up to basically get 6 months worth of training doing this, so that you could, be a practitioner in this. And I'm going to say it because I'm pretty sure Brooklyn is in the midst of doing it. We're talking about actually getting like a credential for finishing it. Like if you get through it and you're able to build the final project, that we actually will give you like a certificate that's like verifiable, but like a credentialing authority. So that's something we're looking at doing down the. Somebody paid $33. Yay! Yeah, I'm pretty sure y'all don't care about that, but 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 that's how essentially but that's how that's essentially going to work. So all 25 of those lessons are going to be there, and everything that all the advanced stuff is going to be in the other two. So just keep all that in mind. For the more like direct and shorter path ones, like there's other live classes that you can go to also to like do something like immediate. But this is, I'm gonna say, a slow burn, but I'm trying to like actually turn you into one of us is kind of like the goal with this class, is to turn you into an AI expert practitioner. That's the point of these classes. So if you stumbled onto here and you didn't realize that's what you're here to become, like the people that are teaching the material. Become one of us. Um, so and all the other replays for other live classes are here. The ones that are not my class are all here. So you can always go back to those and see what's happening in any of those classes. Okay. Cool. So let me get back to it. And I believe I was just talking about, I was talking about APIs. So let's say this one on the left is your app and you're trying to talk to YouTube. What an API basically is it's a mechanism that exists that was already agreed upon a while ago that allows applications to talk to each other following a certain pattern. We don't have to go over the pattern right now of HTTP requests and all stuff like that. We did talk about it in the previous class, but it's not that important. It's really more of an under the hood thing. But you need to know that the way that the thing about it though is that when you're debugging problems in your workflows, you're going to end up having to understand how the applications talk to each other, and they talk to each other through API requests. And the API request is going to look like a couple different things. It's going to look like, let me just type it out. It's going to look like either a GET request, right? Actually, let me not be that technical. Create, read, just memorize this, update, destroy. Memorize those 4 words, because every API request is going to do one of those things, right? It's either going to create new data. So an example of an API request that creates new data, right, is when you go on Instagram, right, and you go ahead and you upload a brand new picture, right? You make a brand new post, you upload a new reel. You're creating data on Instagram servers. So you are asking Instagram, right? It's already built into the application, but it's going to make an API request to its servers and say, hey, this person, Michael or whoever, right? Can I make the font size bigger? I don't know if I can. I probably can. Let me see. Options, no, 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 I may not be able to. If I can't, what I'll do, if that's too small, what I'll do is I'll just draw it. And we'll say, I'll put it over here. Create, read, update, and then destroy. So that's what you should memorize there, because every single action you're going to take when you make an API call to do one of those things, you're going to ask. So basically, your app might ask YouTube, I would like to create a new video, right? Your application might ask YouTube, I would like to get a video, like fetch a new video. That's reading, because that data exists. And you're asking, hey, I know you have the video, right? You have the video, right? I would like to see it. That's reading data. You have it. I would like to see it. Update, you probably could imagine there's already something there and you want to make a change to it, right? So something exists. Maybe like you have a comment that's there and you want to change your comment, right? Or you have a YouTube video you posted and you want to change the caption. You want to change the title. That means you want to take something that already exists and you want to change something about it. And destroy probably is self-explanatory, that something existed and you want it to go away. You had a video, you want to delete the video, right? You had a comment, you want to delete your comment, right? So create, read, update, destroy, right? Any security considerations with this kind of automation? A lot of security stuff, but we're not ready to talk about them yet. If I start talking about them now, I might start to lose people because you really can't talk about how to do it safe until you until you know how to do it at all. So it'll get a little bit, it'll be a little bit too high of a conversation at this point, right? Yep, exactly. Get, post, put, and delete. Those that is correct. Um, we'll get around. We'll get around to that though. I don't want to use that terminology just yet. But creating data, reading data, updating data, and destroying data. Everything you're going to do is going to be one of those type of things you're going to try to attempt to do. Right? Cool, cool. I got some fellow nerds here. I like it. Any security considerations? What about get, post, put, delete? Like, all right, cool, cool, cool. I'm liking the way that conversation is going. That means we got some tech nerds here. All right, awesome. But that is what you're doing with API requests. You're always going to be doing one of those things. I want to make something. I want to look at something. I want to change something. I want to get rid of something. Create, read, update, destroy. Remember the word CRUD. CRUD. If you remember CRUD, you will remember what you can do. Right? And all it is how we're going to make those two applications talk to each other. So, transformation nodes. Um, ooh, I might need to speed up just a tad bit so I can finish. I got a lot more slides to do. Okay, transformation nodes. So, transformation nodes, essentially, like we talked about, is where we're going to take in data that we got from maybe another node, etc., and we're going to do something to that data. So, for example, set nodes like creates or modifies values in your workflow data. A function node that's going to run JavaScript code, which we're going to talk a little bit about. I'm going to teach you how to read and utilize JavaScript a little bit. But the great thing is we're going to be able to use tools that we're going to introduce pretty soon that are going to allow you to be able to say something in plain English, right? Or another language too. You can say it in Spanish or another language and have it generate the code for you. But I'm going to show you how to read code so that you know that if the AI gave you some junk that isn't good and it's not going to work, which is the problem, right? If you don't know what's supposed to be in there, um, the AI may not give you everything you need. You won't know that it's missing things, right? Can we have a copy of the slides? Yes, I shared a copy of the slides a little bit earlier. But since I have it in presentation mode, I can't copy the link right now. But I'll definitely share it with you, and it'll be attached below in the school community. I'm gonna attach the slides below, so you can always get them from there too. So you'll definitely have the slides. Um, so then we have filter nodes, which we can actually take data and filter out the data and filter out things that we don't want or make sure it meets certain conditions. And merge nodes, we can actually take data, essentially that is different types of data and merge them, bring them together, right? So those are the type of things that you can do. Then you have a logic and flow control. If you're going to take a little bit of time on this, because this is going to be the thing that separates you being able to make really good automations from not really being able to make good automations. Is because what happens a lot of times when people learn how to make automations, they do everything in just a single linear path. Like everything is just one step after another step, because they don't know how to implement this, right? And what I mean by one step after another, you could make an automation that is as simple as, let's say, like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The first step might be go get the peanut butter. Step one, done. Then the next step might be go get the jelly, right? And they go get the jelly. Then go get me a knife. Go get me the bread. Go take 2 pieces of bread out. Just one step after another, right? Which is good when you have like a determinate path that you want to go down, which is like, I just wanted to do all these steps and not think at all, just do these exact things. I just wanted to do it for me so I don't have to do it, which is fine, right? But there's only so far you can go with that. Now you can go a whole lot further once you add logic and flow control, which is going to give you the ability to be able to have it decide to go different paths depending on whether or not something is true or false or large in this number, small in this number, etc. Do this many times based on a number of things in the list, like all these different logical pieces, and they really bring your automation AI agent game to the next level. So essentially, you can start with conditional branching, and that's if you use an if node, and you can split the flow based on whether or not a condition is met. Right? You can essentially say, how can I say? Let's say, let's use this example that I already wrote. So, if the amount is greater than $1,000, send it for approval. Otherwise, auto approve it, right? And that could be something like where you're making, where you have automation set up for procurement or something like that at your job or something along those lines, right? Basically, if something is a certain price, it's good. If it's not that price, it's not good. So you can do that, right? The another thing you could do is, let's say, for example, you can check and say if somebody answered a certain question in a survey a certain way. Let's say if they said that yes, they have $1,000 to invest now, or no, they don't. Or it could have been a number of things. It could have been like 4 different options. Like, I have over $1,000 in the bank. I have 500 to 1,000. I've got no money. I'm broker than broke. I got less than no money. Whatever the question was, right? You could essentially let's say if your workflow looks like this, right? I'm going to draw it real quick. Let's say if your workflow looks like this, and it does step 1, and then step 2, and then you can have a block here that says if, and then it can go one way or it can go another way, right? And then start another set of steps after that. And this one could say start over again from the beginning, right? If something is false or something like that. So you could have your workflow set up in such a way where it has these if blocks here. If you don't have the if block, say you got to a part like this, it didn't have the if block, you might just throw an error and the whole thing shuts down. But with the if block, you can say if you don't get what you wanted, go back and do it again until it does what I want it to do, and then it could do the next steps, right? So you're giving yourself the ability to be able to do that. Then you can also have loops, right? So for example, you could, let's say, for example, you have a list of your leads. Let's say you're a real estate wholesaler and you have like a list of sellers you need to contact, right? That all meet a certain criteria. You could have an automated text message sent to them, or automated email sent to them, or even an automated phone call made to them with the AI dialer, right? But you can have it happen automatically for you for every single person in the list. So it keeps making each one of the calls until it gets all the way to the end of the list, or keeps sending all the text messages until it finishes the list. So you can have it loop through those things, right? So that's something you could do as well. And then error handling also, where you could detect if something was a failure. So you can make a check that says something on the lines of, if you made an API call to YouTube and for some reason YouTube was down, don't just shut off my whole automation, do this instead. So if something didn't work, do something else, right? That's another method that you have available to you. So that is the type of things you'll do with your logical pieces. So quick review before we go into the next part is you have your trigger nodes, right? You have your action nodes, you have your nodes that let you transform data, and you have your logic pieces, right? All of these four things together allow you to pretty much do anything because um, you can basically tell it when you want it to start. You can tell it the things you want it to do. You can tell it when you want it to change stuff, and you can tell it, based on certain parameters to do this or do that, right? And this is the built-in methodologies that occur. This is the stuff that's not even fully using like the full power of AI yet, because you can also add in, your agent piece that actually allows it to think for itself and make decisions about stuff without having to consult you, right? So you put these hard rules, just like when you go to your job. Your job has like rules, like these are the 10 things you're supposed to do at your job. Then also you're expected in some level, use your own reasoning to decide, based on the what I know about my job, here's what I think I should do in this situation. Now, sometimes you may need to just call your supervisor or stuff like that, depending on your level at the job. But everybody loves, employees that can run without you needing to like be right in front of them to do it, right? So, like for example, you teach somebody how to like work Subway, right? Like how to like make the sandwiches in Subway, and somebody comes in and they say something like, "You know what? I don't know what I want. I want a good sandwich that has salami on it." Like that's not going to be within these regular parameters in your automation, right? But the AI or that employee in that situation would be able to say, you know what, this has salami, this has salami, this has salami, but I kind of really like the Italian BMT. It's really good. I think that's what you should try out. Oh, cool. I'll get the Italian BMT. I don't like provolone. What type of cheese should I get? Probably American. They can start to think like that person can think and start to come up with stuff that stuff isn't necessarily in the training to be a good Subway employee, but because they're a human and they can reason, they can start to do that. Your AI agent, powered with your with that ability, is going to be able to also do that type of reasoning, and it's going to get the way that it should think and work based on the prompts that you give it when you create the agent, that you explain to the agent, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, this is who you are, and this is how I want you to try to accomplish it. That's what I'm looking to get, and then you can have it make those type of decisions on the fly, which is incredibly powerful. You're basically able to build your own AI employee that does work for you based on the instructions that you gave it. And you could always have the AI agent also keep a log of everything that's ever done, which is better than you can even do with an employee. An employee might forget who they spoke to yesterday unless they wrote it inside of a book or something like that. Anybody that was in the military knows we used to have these military log books that we used to have, and we used to write every 10 minutes what we did while we were on watch. You know what I mean? So that's something that is, you essentially can have the AI do for you too. Every decision it makes, it can tell you why it made the decision, so you can go back and explain to it later why you didn't like a decision. So, what is an AI agent? So, an AI agent is an autonomous system. Autonomous just means that it can run by itself, right? And so it's an AI-driven program that understands your goals and it's going to perform tasks on your behalf without you having to be there to do it. It has intelligent decision making, right? It's not just going to just do whatever. It's going to actually be able to analyze information, analyze data, and decide what it should do under certain circumstances, right? And also, AI agents are able to not just use, like ChatGPT just uses like what's right in front of it. It can use as many tools as you give it access to. So if you give it 100 tools, it has access to all those tools, and then it can go ahead and utilize those tools whenever it needs to to be able to solve the problems that you set up for it. So chatbots versus AI agents, right? So chatbots versus AI agents. Chatbots basically, everybody's used a chatbot at this point, but basically they follow predefined rules and scripts. They're limited to specific questions. They have a narrow scope of understanding, and they normally cannot adapt to new scenarios. Whereas the AI agent is powered by a large language model. It can understand natural language. It can generate dynamic responses. It can adapt to new contexts, meaning that, like, if you already work at Subway and you quit your job tomorrow and you go to Jimmy John's, you kind of know how to make sandwiches already, right? So you can use that pre-created knowledge to be good at Jimmy John's, right? The same way. Same kind of thought process here is that it can adapt to differences in its perfect circumstances, right? And the perfect analogy that I used on LinkedIn is essentially you can think of a chatbot like a vending machine, right? It delivers pre-packaged responses from a limited menu of options. Whereas an AI agent, you can think of it like a personal chef, where it creates custom solutions with a vast knowledge and ability to adapt to whatever your needs happen to be, right? Just like a personal chef, you can tell the personal chef, like, hey, I only eat green food or only yellow food or whatever, something weird, right? Or when you put M&Ms on the side, you take out all the red M&Ms because he's my favorite M&M from the commercials. I don't want to eat them, so you got to take all the red M&Ms out, or whatever rule that you might have, right? You can do the same thing with your AI agent. Give it whatever crazy type of detail that you want to give it, and have it perform the task in that way for you. Right. So the big difference is chatbots give fixed output, while AI agents improvise unique solutions for you. Right. So why AI agents are the future? They have there's a numerous amount of new possibilities that you can uncover by having access to this at the end of the day, right? Because you're able to automate, right, all these different cognitive tasks that you normally would have had to do yourself. So basically, once you figure out how to do something one time, if you know how to automate stuff, you can learn it one time, teach it to your chatbot. I mean, teach it to your AI agent, and now your AI agent can go do it 10,000 times, right? So it also gives you the ability to scale that efficiency 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? And you can adapt to the changing scenarios that keep coming around you, because it's adaptable, changeable, updatable, and intelligent, right? So all of those manual tasks you used to do, you now can create these automations to be able to do it for you. And we are in an era right now in the middle of 2025, right? And anybody who's watching this video later, it's the middle of 2025 when we record this, right? You're in a stage right now, right, where you're able to kind of front run this opportunity, because people think it's a lot harder than it is, but it's not as easy as some people think it is to be able to do it well enough that you can get paid to do it, right? It's not going to take you 7 years, but it probably won't take you 3 or 4 days either, right? But you can get pretty good at doing it within a few weeks. And being in a program like this, we're going to keep just giving you automations you can sell to other people, but you'll know how to use it because you know how the pieces work, right? So all the automations we give you, you have free private label rights for however much time you want for the rest of your life. You can take the JSON files and you can make a business selling them to whoever the heck you want to sell them to. So you can sell them. So like you can take the faceless thing that I was talking about, and you can go ahead and make some ads on Instagram right now and sell people like, hey, you heard faceless pages are the new rage, right? What if I could automate your faceless page for you? You already see there's ads that do that now. I'm giving you the juice so that you could actually do that yourself if you wanted to. You could sell those people the automation for that, right? And that's something that you're going to have the ability to be able to do. If you want to make it so that you have something set up for real estate wholesalers or real estate agents, or you want to do something for a bill collector or a local a local business owner like a plumber or whatever type of automations that you have, um, you can once you make it one time, you can resell that automation many times as you want, because that automation will work the same way for you as it works for somebody else or somebody else, right? How much do you charge for that service? It depends. But remember, I'm showing you how to do it. So I mean, you already paid to learn how to do it now. If you're here, one way or another, you already paid to be here. But the but and you can take those automations and sell them to other people. And your question is how much charge people for it. It's really up to you, because technically, once you did the work, everything after that, the reason why it's very high profit is you do the work one time, and then you just now have to sell people on using that automation that they need the automation, and you set it up for them as easy as like I showed some people in the last class, is you literally just get the JSON file, upload it, add the logins, and the thing will just work for the other people. So it's a very quick setup to do. But depending on what it does, really the way you have to think about it, and this is what I tell my coaching clients, is the thing you have to understand is people are paying you based on what it's going to do for them. So for example, if you're taking like a automation that I made before, is a lead reactivation campaign, right? Where where somebody has a whole bunch of old dead leads that make them absolutely no money, right? That they don't have time to follow up with. And what we do is we use AI to follow up with those people via text, right? Where do we get those? I'll give them to you. But once you use N8N, you'll see you just click a button and it'll export it, and then you can give it to other people if you wanted to. And then so the ones I make in class, I'm going to give to you when we finish those classes. Lost my train of thought. What was I just saying? Oh yeah, the prices. Like the prices are all based on what you do for the other person. So like when we're doing a lead activation campaign, right? Like we charge like in the high four figures for it, right? Like around $7, $8, $9,000, right? Because it's going to make them a lot of money depending on what type of leads and what type of deal this is. So really, it depends on what you're making for the person. Like you can't charge somebody $10,000 for making them a faceless page automation, because it's not worth $10,000 to them. Like it doesn't make them that much. Like they can make a lot of money from a faceless page, but they can also make the content themselves, and it's not that bad. But would they be willing to pay $100 a month, $200 a month? Sure, they would be. So it really depends on the automation itself, because we know we're using the same tools to put all the automations together, and they might know to a certain extent that you are, right? But certain automations take more thinking for you to put together, because you got to remember, like, they're paying you for your knowledge that you know how to put the automations together, and and all that stuff. And then also, it's not the same result that you're giving somebody, and what people are really paying for is the result. Like just like when you think about if you were to um, sell something on commission, right? If you sell a house, you get 6% commission on a $300,000 house. You make $18,000. If you sell a T-shirt, you know, you're not going to make $18,000 for selling a T-shirt. It's not that you're doing the same action of selling something, just like we're doing the same action of automating something, but automating a process to make somebody $100,000 to $200,000 a month is different than automating a process because they're just lazy and don't want to do this themselves. And so they just want to pay $50 to just make the problem go away so they don't have to physically do it themselves. So it's a difference in benefit. So it's always based on the outcome that you get for the client, right? And the best person to tell you about how to know what you should charge your clients for. Of course, you could ask me, and I'll give you my opinion on specific automations when we're like there. But Brooklyn is the best person to do that because Brooklyn is a master seller and knows exactly how that works. That is what she's amazing at. So she knows the value behind, can know the value behind it and give you, the information. So just, if you have an automation you end up making down the line, you're like, how much should I charge for it? Feel free to post in the community, and you can tag Brooklyn and other coaches, et cetera, and you can get your get an opinion for that. And Brooklyn more than likely will answer the question and let you know what she thinks it should be sold for. That might have been a too long of an answer to that question, but that's the honest answer. I can't really just tell you a number because it would just be BS. It really just depends on what you're doing. All right. So AI plus humans, the next era. So you probably understand that the future of automation lies in you creating intuitive, intelligent systems that empower both humans and AI to achieve things together as a unit. Um, and it's not that AI agents are going to replace everybody, but they will make it so that one person can be a whole lot more productive. They'll work alongside you, right? So a lot of the tasks that you have that are a lot more, um, you know, has a lot more. It's a lot more difficult. Like as a content creator, because I've been creating content for a while, it takes a lot of time to sit down and want to make a YouTube video, want to make slides, want to do this, want to do that. It takes a while to do so, right? But with the power of AI and all this other stuff, I can make my vision come out a whole lot faster than I could do otherwise, right? When I used to teach that $20,000 class I was talking about, I used to have to be planning all my lessons a minimum 2 months ahead of time to be able to make sure when I actually get to that particular time frame, that I have everything mapped out the way that I want it mapped out. I've got all the homework ready, all the activities I want the learners to do. I have these really fancy handouts to give to people because I'm like, yo, this people paying $20,000. It can't be showing up with no BS. Say no $5 class. Like I gotta, you know what I'm saying? They paying 20 grand. Like we gotta come correct, right? Nowadays, though, in order to do the same type of workflow I used to do before, and I had a very, very detailed workflow that would take me literally hours to do to get together a good set, a good lesson set. Um, Now I can do the same thing because all the information is still inside my brain. It just took a lot of time to extract it and make it show up on the screen the way I wanted. But now I can give a prompt and skip like 8 hours and skip ahead like 8 hours. Then boom, I'm already kind of where I'm at. Like these slides I made here now, I wrote out all the text. I gave it to an AI platform called Gamma.ai. If anybody likes to make PowerPoints, I'm gonna give it to you right now. Gamma.ai. It's not free. So unless you do presentations a lot, it's not very helpful. I wouldn't pay for it. But if you do presentations a lot, speak a lot, it's super helpful. Literally, the only thing I will tell you is you have to actually write out everything. You have to write out all the notes, right? So that it knows exactly what to put on the slides. It's not going to make up the information you want to put on the slides. It doesn't know what you know. But you don't have to format the slides. So all you have to do is literally like write a little Harvard outline, boom, 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 all the information you want in there, and then pop it in, and boom, it'll spit out all the slides that you need for your presentation, right? It'll put together pictures, give you diagrams, say in-depth things all nice and pretty. Sometimes things come out a little bit jacked up, like a lot of times, like the words would overlap and stuff like that. No big deal. I can fix that in 10 minutes, but it would take me hours to do it the other way. So AI really allows you to be able to do that, right? So when you're finally building out of workflow, right? What essentially I'm going to show you. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right, and you should be able to see this. This is the automation that we made last week, right? And these are the pieces to it. You see that we have a trigger here, right? And this trigger is a Typeform trigger, which essentially it's an event based trigger. What we're looking for is we're looking for somebody to fill out a specific form, right, on Typeform, which basically is just basically the form that I personally was using, right, is a form that basically asks, what's your first name? What's your last name? What's your phone number? What's your email? What's your company? Are you an influencer with over 10,000 followers on a single platform? Are you a sales professional who has generated over $1 million in total product or service revenue? Are you a digital entrepreneur that's made at least $100,000 in revenue in a single calendar year? Or do you have an active email newsletter or SMS list with over 1,000 subscribers? And would you like to be added to my AI automation newsletter for digital entrepreneurs? Right now, the thought process behind my trigger here is this particular automation my is for my white label / coaching program, right? And in order to qualify for the program, one of these things has to be true. You have to have a single platform, and the reason for it is because for what I'm trying to do with people in that program, if you don't already have these things set up, it doesn't really make any sense because you don't have anything for me to tell you how to leverage and expand, right? So for that particular thing, I don't want to waste anybody's time or money, so I don't let anybody get involved. And also, you don't pay for this program either; it's a revenue split, right? So if you don't have 10,000 followers, or it's not and it's or you don't or you've made $1 million in total product sales, right? Or you're a digital entrepreneur that's made $100,000 in a calendar year, or you have a subscriber list with over 1,000 people. If one of those things is true, then we can do business and we can talk about how I can help with that particular thing. That's not for everything I do, but this particular thing, right? So that's what I'm looking for people to fill out and answer. So somebody fills out that form, right? And they answer these questions. That's the trigger, right? That comes in from Typeform, right? And when somebody fills out the form, the AI agent receives it. And the AI agent has access to this Airtable tool, right? And also has access to OpenAI, because that's where we're gonna do the logic at. Because we could use Claude or DeepSeek or whatever. See a question, split revenue. Yeah, I could talk about. Oh, Angela, you got my number. We can talk about that after if you want to do that. We can talk anytime, Angela. Um, but so essentially, the you have access to OpenAI, right? And OpenAI is the model that we're going to use to power the brain of our AI agent. But we could use any of the other available ones. Let me go if I were to click on this and open it up, right? We are starting this with the trigger. We have our prompt here. We have the chat model listed here, and the chat model that we're using is GPT 4o, which comes from OpenAI. But we could pick one of the other ones, right? We could pick, Codex, Mini Latest, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, 4.1, blah, 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 blah. The O3s are on here, right? Yep, the O3. I don't think O3 Pro's on here, right? O4 Mini and O4 Mini's on here, O1 Pro. Um, but yeah, so pretty much all of the available ones are there, but I'm just using 4.0. And there's going to be a difference in price depending on which one you use too. So keep that in mind, right? So depending on which one you use is going to be a difference in how much it actually is going to cost when you're actually calling that API, right? But there are free models that you could use too, or local ones you could use as well. Like I said, if you know how to code, you can circumvent a lot of the pricing, or you know how to use technology, I should say, not necessarily know how to code, but you're good with technology. You can circumvent a lot of the pricing, because the reason why you're paying for pricing is because you're using other people's stuff, right? Like, I don't have to pay to throw a party at my house because it's my house, right? I just throw a party because it's mine. But if I want to go use a venue to go and throw a party, well, guess what? I got to pay them because it's their venue, right? If I want to give myself a haircut, which I need to do, right? I don't got to pay because I'm cutting my own hair. But if I want Sly Hunter to cut my hair and I want him to get in that mode, if you know who I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? I got to pay him $250 because I'm asking him to do it for me, right? So keep that in mind. You're paying all this money to all these services because you're asking them. You're saying, I don't know how to really use this AI stuff, but here it's pretty cool. How much are you going to charge me to use it, right? Where you want to get to the point where you own your own stuff, right? Um, you know what I'm saying, and do that. So keep that in mind. Like, if you did, I'm not going to go on a tangent. But Sly Huncho is hilarious. Um, but yeah. So the other tool that we're giving to, and we could give as many tools we want to this agent. We can not as many tools, but we could add a lot of tools to this agent. But the one we're only using right now is Airtable, because what we want is we want Airtable to actually go ahead and allow us to be able to take the data that we received, right, and actually upload it into Airtable. And all Airtable is where we're going to actually store our data. So it'd be so if somebody keep filling out these Typeform forms, we don't save the data anywhere. What good was it for them to fill out the form? Because I need to be able to see the data later. You feel me? Like, if we don't save it somewhere, where's the data at? That's what Airtable is for. Airtable is for us to be able to save the data somewhere, right? And so we put those pieces together, and then we have our automation. But we actually need to instruct the agent what to do with the information. And that's where your prompting comes in. And if you already have used ChatGPT, you're already ready to do this, right? So you have two versions of your prompt, right? You have your system message and your user message, right? Now, in this instance, the user message, right? What I wrote in here is I wanted to have access to all the data. So basically, all the data that I wanted to have, I pretty much tell it how to how the data to be formatted. Let's copy from the Typeform trigger, because that's all I want. Is I want it to just be able to process all the data, so that it's always going to know what the first name is, right? So it's going to know what the last name is. This is an example of it actually doing it. So it's going to have the full data is going to be available to the agent. If I wanted to change it, I could do that here, but I don't have that intention here, right? And then the system message says, you are an intelligent automation system that reviews applications for the white label program. Based on the applicant's Typeform responses, evaluate the following 4 qualifiers. Are they an influencer with over 10,000 followers on one platform? Are they a stuff I just said, right? Do they have a list? If the applicant answers yes to any one of these questions, classify them as qualified. If the applicant answers no to all of them, classify them as not qualified. Then reply in the voice of Big Papa Code using one of the following messages. If qualified, tell them that they made the cut, not surprised. We took a look at your submission. You're exactly the kind of powerhouse we built the white label program for. Someone with reach, receipts, or real distribution. A member of our team will reach out to you shortly to set up next steps and show you how to plug in. Let's build something serious. Sign Big Papa Code. If not qualified, right, it says you're close, but not quite ready yet. The white label program is designed for entrepreneurs with real traction. followers, revenue, blah, blah, blah. That said, and then here's the stinger, right? Not the stinger, but here's the thing, right? Just because I can't work within the white label program doesn't mean we can't work together somehow, right? So then what's it say? That said, Digital Boss Academy exists to help people level up and hit those exact marks. And then send the Digital Boss Academy link so that they can sign up for Digital Boss Academy and learn how to level up so they can hit those type of levels and then turn into the person that then can then do that program with me. So one thing, so they're either going to get, let's go ahead, you're already ready, let's do it, or do this instead, right? To get yourself where you need to be. And the person can respond whatever way they want to respond. Everybody see where we're going with that? Right? Genius. Cool. That's the plan. All right. So let me go back to my slides. And everybody should already have that. If you don't already have that automation, lesson 3, we talked about how to set it up, and then you can download it from lesson 3 inside the community, and you can upload it, and you'll have that exact same automation. You don't have to build it from scratch. It'll literally copy everything you saw on my screen will be copied in your N8N account, right? And we also did the full setup of getting the Typeform account, the N8N account, the Airtable account, etc., in that other recording. So remember, you can get everything from there. All right. So we talked. So I know I showed it to you, but now I'm going to talk through it. So step 1, like we said, was the Typeform trigger, right? The applicant submits the form. The user fills out the application. It trigger activates, and it then detects the new submission event, captures the data, and we keep it moving. Then we save the data to Airtable, right? We create a record action. We map the form data, save the application, right? And then maintain the log. And then the AI agent's going to evaluate, hey, do they meet the criteria? Yes or no, right? So it processes the application, right? It evaluates whether or not they meet the criteria. It makes a decision, generates the response, and then boom, now we're done. And the example, like I was showing you, is you have to format it so that it can dynamically gather the data. That was the thing. I don't know if I made that clear. Let me bring that back over. Actually, I probably didn't make that part clear. Let me open this part back up. The reason why you see this green highlight, because that's dynamic data, right? If I was to just literally write my name, then and no matter what anybody put into the form, it's always going to come up and say Arthur. I need to tell it that I need you to take this, and I'm going to, like we said, we'll talk more about code, stuff like this, but you're just going to write this little piece right here. And you don't even have to actually type it out, but you can. You could just literally click on first name and drag and drop it, and it'll write the code for you in that format. So it knows, it needs to grab the first name field from the data. It needs to grab the last name field from the data, etc. So you can just drag and drop it, and it'll show up here, right? Like if I was to go ahead and drag and drop phone number, for example, then phone number will be here, right? And you see that it automatically formats it in the right way and it highlights it in green. So that's a piece of the code that it doesn't that it's putting over there. Right? So keep that in perspective. Right? And I know we're about to go over time. Just give me a little bit more time to finish up. I promise I won't go over too much. And then step 4 will be the automated response. And that's the part where we need to integrate Gmail or something like that to actually send the email. We can generate the content now with what we have, and then we can integrate Gmail, just have it send the email on your behalf, right? Just straight up, just using your Gmail, right? So why this automation is so powerful? It mimics human decisions, right? The AI performs judgment-based reviews, just like a human would, but just like your assistant would do, it could do the same thing. It does personalization at scale. Each response is tailored, yet generated automatically. Also, it has speed and efficiency. The process takes seconds instead of 10 to 15 minutes per application because every single time an application comes in, boom, it can go ahead and automatically do the process, right? Additional benefits, it's consistent. It can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and work the same way every single time. Because your AI tool never gets tired or sleepy. Um, it you have human focus, so your team can concentrate on high value tasks like following up with the actual people that it should instead of figuring out who they should follow up with, of like automatically filtering out the people that it doesn't need to do, which is always the most annoying part, especially if you have the type of job where you know, I don't know if any of you are network marketers. I know some people might be, but like network marketing, the hard part is like you might talk to 1,000 people and 940 of them are going to be like, no. You know what I mean? Like they don't even want to talk to you. 200 of them are going to be pissed off you even ask them about network marketing. What is that? One of those pyramid things or something like that? People are going to be mad. You probably just like, you know what? I heard that enough times. I'll let the AI handle all the pyramids, screen out all the people that say it's a pyramid, and whatever. Um, so if you happen to be in one of those companies, you can use AI to like make those initial contacts to cold leads and not have to deal with having to explain you know, the difference between a straight up, full blown illegal pyramid scheme and a network marketing company that may not mean you want to do network marketing, but it is legal. So, it is what it is. There's a difference. So, you could have all that, you could have it handle all that stuff for you. You could literally, I have one person that actually like gave, it wasn't network marketing though, something else, but they have common objections. And they actually put in the AI's knowledge base those common objections to like common things people say, and is already ready to answer those common objections. And the thing about the AI is the AI never gets scared. It's like a fearless salesperson. So like, you hit it with the one of those things, and it's gonna automatically hit you with the objection. So even if you're not a good salesperson, you could just be like, all right, let me get the 200 biggest objections. We go ahead and throw that in the PDF and drop it in here, and that's part of the knowledge base. And say, anytime you hear an objection that sounds like one of these, right? Say this or something very close to it based on the context of the conversation, right? And you'd be surprised at how well they sound. Very surprised, right? Now, automation with AI can handle human-like tasks. Data that could not have been processed before can now be analyzed automatically. Decisions that require human judgment can now be handled easily within the workflows, right? So it's things that used to take like a lot of humans to be in the loop in order for you to really get something going. Now you don't have to have a human in the loop in order to do those things. So that's pretty clear. But that's just the basics. And that's what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks, right? But there is more advanced things than that. And this is where you can really start to charge the people the $10,000, the $5,000, the $2,000 a month retainers, and all the stuff like that. Is when you get these advanced topics down. And the first one that we're going to talk about is RAG. Um, and I think we got enough time to talk about it. So basically, which is RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, right? Which grounds AI with your own data. Also, vector databases. Sounds like it's going to be a whole lot more complicated than it is, but I promise you it's not. But you're going to store data, store your knowledge in a way that makes it easy for AI to actually grab it, which is why I took the time to try to show you what data look like and stuff like that in the second lesson, because you need to have stuff formatted in such a way that it's easy for the AI to be able to read through it, not easy for you to be able to read it, right? And that's two different ways, that the way that makes it easier for a computer to look at it and for you to look at it, right? And you want it to be as efficient as possible. Multi-tool AI agents, where an agent can use multiple different things, right? And of course, APIs, the gateway to the entire world, because every major application has an API. Every major application that wants you to talk to it has an API that allows you to be able to communicate with it, whether it's Google Sheets, whether it's Airtable, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, they all have a way to be able to have an application talk to it. So retrieval augmented generation, right? And RAG is what you'll hear people say. So whenever you hear people say RAG, that's just jargon for retrieval augmented generation. It sounds a whole lot more complicated than it is, but really it is very simple and very powerful, right? At a company I was doing work for recently, we literally had somebody that their whole job was to do RAG stuff, and they were getting paid like a couple $100,000 a year to do that at this startup. Um, and it was hilarious to me. Um, but I don't want to get into it. I wasn't gonna pocket watch or nothing, so I didn't say nothing about it. I'm like, really, 200K? Okay, but it is what it is. But anyway, retrieval augmented generation, right? So essentially, um, let's say someone asks a question, right, requiring specific knowledge, right? They don't just ask what's 2 plus 2. They ask, something that you need to know something about the business to be able to answer the question. Like ChatGPT can answer questions in general, right? And you can give it documents for it to be able to read and stuff like that, which is kind of what we're talking about here. But you want to make it so that your agent knows everything about the business that you are doing that it's working. So even though it might be the exact same automation, right? That you might be doing, let's say, for a plumber and an electrician, you might be doing the same automation for both of them, right? There's differences between their pricing structures, their availability, certain things that they need you to have already done before they can actually do the work, questions that they need to ask to make sure that they know about before they get there, all those different types of things, right? That should be in a knowledge base of the agent in order to properly work for that person, right? And this is the thing. This is one of those things that's going to set everything apart. So basically, at the end of the day, when the user asks that question that requires specific knowledge, you want it to retrieve information. So you want the system to find relevant data from your knowledge base, not to just go in searching through the internet and hallucinating data, right? It hallucinates data, like your AI is going to hallucinate data when it needs to fill in the words, but it doesn't know the actual answer. So it's like it probably is something like this, and just make it up. Basically like what a little kid does. At the end of the day, they just make stuff up. Anybody who's got kids know what I'm talking about. They'll just make it up off the top of their head and run with it, right? Your AI will 100% do that if you don't give it something to get at to gather as the source of truth, and that it knows the right answer is inside it, right? So you want it to have so you want it to have those things in knowledge base that can answer those type of questions. Then it's going to augment the AI response. So the AI is going to use the retrieved information to inform the response that's going to generate. Then it's going to generate the answer and give it back to the user. So it's going to go through that process. So you need to make sure that you give it that information up front. And if you give it that information up front, then it will be able to go through this process correctly. So why RAG matters? Without RAG, it's going to only rely on training data, which who knows what the heck is inside the training data. It's going to hallucinate. It's going to have outdated information. It's going to, limit knowledge of the business. Have to have limited knowledge of the business because it's going to know like you're a plumber. Cool, you're a plumber. I know what plumbers do, but it doesn't know anything about that particular plumber. It doesn't know that it's on 516 Main Street or wherever the heck the plumber is located. It doesn't know that the plumber doesn't work on Friday and Saturdays because it runs on a schedule of Muslim country or whatever the case may be, or etc. Like it doesn't know any of those things, right? It doesn't know that it doesn't work on Saturday because they observe the Sabbath. None of those things are going to be things that it knows offhand. But if you give it that information, right, then it's going to be able to do it. And if you actually are doing this as a consultant, and you're setting this up for people, you can actually, you can actually in your meeting that you have with your clients, that's the information you're trying to extract from them. You're trying to extract all this type of information from them so you can inform the AI about things specifically for that business, right? So you're trying to extract all the information you can about their business, so this way that you can inform the AI tools that you're creating, um, to be able to have that data available to them. And with RAG, the AI consults your documents, provides up to date information, gives factual sourced answers, and knows the specific context of your business itself. Right? Vector databases, right? What are they? They're specialized databases that store and query vector embeddings of data, right? Which is just a super fancy way to say that. Also, the way that they work, like I said, they convert text into vectors that capture semantic meaning mathematically, right? Because we know how computers work, and that's what they want. And why they matter? They enable semantic search that understands meaning, not just keywords, right? So, not just the words, they actually understand the meaning behind the words based on how it weights certain things, which is super powerful. So, vector databases in RAG. It allows you to process documents, you can convert your knowledge base into vector embeddings. It stores vectors and saves them in a vector database, right? Semantic search, which allows you to find the most relevant content based on meaning, not just keywords. And also, the AI responses generates answers that are grounded in your real data. That's how it's going to give you better information than ChatGPT, which is everybody's question is, well, can I just ask ChatGPT this stuff? Yeah, but but in theory, you could take this further, right? So that's the case there. And multi-tool agents, we already kind of talked about that. That we want agents that can access multiple different tools, right? So they can do stuff like receive a task, plan an approach, use a database tool, use a math tool to do some math, use a writing tool to write something. They can use all those tools together instead of just having one tool, right? You go ahead and you can give it other tools, right? I'm gonna go ahead and add this tool, add that tool, right? It's like you see MongoDB Atlas Vector Store. Like we just talked about having a vector database to store the data in, right? We go ahead and we can add, some extra tools, the autopilot tool, Asana, AWS, Bitly, whatever, a calculator, Circle CI, whatever it is you need for the client, the things that you're making, CoinGecko. If you're doing stuff with crypto, you need to fetch a price, whatever you have going on, right? You can connect these tools directly into your AI agent, so this way that it can access all those different tools and then do more than one thing in the way that you instructed that it should be trying to do it, which, as you can imagine, is very powerful, right? And then APIs, the glue that holds all the automations together, right? So, like we said, AI APIs are application programming interfaces, and they allow for software systems to communicate over the internet, right? And their role in automation is API enables N8N nodes to talk to services and send and receive data, right? And those of you that were paying attention before know the things you can do with data with the API, or you can ask it to create some data, read some data, update some data, or delete some data. And you can also create custom connections, like we talked about, with HTTP request nodes, let you talk to tools that don't automatically exist, right? That are already there. So if you know how to format a tool, with code directly, you can make an API call to something else, right? And then if you want to get super fancy, you can create a connection yourself, create a tool yourself, because N8N is open source and you're allowed to do that, right? So OpenAI's GPT models are accessed through API calls. And this is how N8N's AI agent node works behind the scenes too. It makes API calls to all these other tools, right? AI agents using APIs, you can make advanced agents that can call external APIs to get any data they need from anywhere. As long as there is that tool you're trying to talk, that thing you're trying to talk to has a public API that you can talk to. Even if it has a private API, as long as you have credentials to talk to it. And this creates super powerful combinations that you can pretty much do anything you want with. So we're gonna I know we're already over, and know some people might have some things they gotta go do. From here, this is the stuff that we're gonna start doing, which is we're going to be preparing documents, creating embeddings, storing in vector databases, building retrieval flows, etc. And we're going to build simple systems that use RAG in it to advance, how can I say, to build these advanced agents that can do a lot of different steps instead of just one or two steps or three steps that can do 40 or 50 different things, and also don't have to do everything step by step, one after another, that the agent can actually figure out when it should make one choice as opposed to another choice. All right, so right there, I'm gonna stop with the presentation there, right? And I'm gonna open it up for any questions that any of you might have before I close it out. So, oh no, yeah, I didn't see that. I dropped my mouse on the floor. Hopefully I didn't close Zoom. Zoom, y'all still there? Okay, good. Like, I hope it didn't hit the close button on Zoom. All right, so I'm going to really quickly, I'm going to turn on everybody's ability to be able to unmute themselves. And if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand so we can know the order everybody's asking the questions in. And then yeah, just come off mute and ask your question. Or if I was such an amazing instructor that you have no questions, because Arthur, you're so amazing. You killed it. You answered every question I could think of. As soon as I was saying that, somebody raised their hand. Oh man, that time it was suspect. Oh man. All right. Let me see. I see. Is it Tiandra? Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. I have a question. So 2 weeks ago, we started actually building the agent in N8N, and I missed the beginning of this class. Was that done already, or is that something we'll continue with after this session?
We'll continue it after this session. So
Okay.
so basically, if you missed the beginning of that session, you can watch the recording and finish. Make sure you have everything for it, because when we get into the next session, I'm going to assume that everybody has the tool in front of that has the whole automation in front of them, and we're going to go through and customize it and make changes to it. But
Okay, I actually missed the beginning of this session, so I didn't know if you guys worked on it today.
oh no. We
Okay.
basically talked about all the information about what N8N is, etc. So last week we said we set up all of our accounts and everything up, and then this one we kind of talked through like what the heck these things are and like what the thought process is behind it. And you're free to edit it based on the information from today. So if you watch the recording and you want to make changes to it, you can. And then in class, we're going to extend it. So we're going to build on top of it in the next class. So make sure that you have it, and then you'll be able to maneuver.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yep, no worries. And then Angela, my friend, what's up?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Nice class. I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The question I had is, on average, about how long does it take to build this out? I know you're teaching us, so you're kind of going a little like step by step through it, which is very helpful. But if you were to just build it out, how long on average does it take?
A simple automation like the one that I showed, like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't take any time. If you know what you're doing, yeah, it's just like drop, put a little prompt in there like you do in ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn the thing on. And it's done. It takes like 5 minutes.
Okay.
A more advanced one still might only take like 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours, like the most, like a super advanced one. If you already know what you're doing, like if you know like what you want to do. The thing that could take you the most amount of time is let's say, for example, you need to make an automation for like a client, right? And the client doesn't know what to tell you doesn't know what to tell you to do. So you got to kind of think about it and say, what should the first step be? What should the trigger be? What should this be? What should that be? You have to start answering those type of questions for yourself. You know what I mean? So that's the part that can take more time. And that's the type of stuff I write on my whiteboard behind me, try to figure that out first. And then once you actually make it, it's like, it takes seconds.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. And then Blessing, you're back.
Yeah. How do I get to the note? I can get to the recordings, but I don't have access to the notes of these classes. Yeah.
The notes are right beneath the recording. So like for example, in week 2, there's a lot more information. So there's in the second class, so there's like even like a handout and stuff like that for you to look at. Last week we were just like setting things up. So it's a whole bunch of like, like log in here, click this, etc. So those notes are in if you go to the code different part, it's listed underneath. And then from today, I'm gonna put the slides, and we shared the slides inside the chat, and somebody just reshared it just now too. But the slides will also be underneath the recording, so you'll be able to get the slides and read through the slides.
In the classroom, on the Code Different section?
Yes.
Okay. I was searching and I was not able to. I found the videos, but not the notes. I don't know, maybe my setting is different.
I'll look at it. I know it's there, but I'll look at it and make sure that there's like that is super clear. So I'll reformat it so that it's clear where it's at. It might just be that it just doesn't look right, and you don't realize that's what it is. But I'll make sure I go back through tomorrow night and reformat it so that's easier for you to see. It's probably just like the way that I have it just isn't clear what it's doing. So I'll consult with the other coaches and make sure it's clear. And then I'll send you a DM once I do it, so that you can take a look again.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I'm grateful.
Yeah, no problem. I gotta look out for my people that show up multiple times. You know what I'm saying? You hear all the time.
I will be.
You know what I'm saying? Like we people's now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, no problem. And then is it Ross? Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I must say thank you. I'm really new to this. I've missed a few other classes, but one of the questions I really wanted to ask was these automations and leads. Can it do adverts for us and conversions as well?
Here's the short answer is it can technically do anything that you can automate, it can do. So when you talk about like, let's say like build like an advertisement, right? There's pieces to when you make an ad, right? You gotta generate the copy, right? You gotta generate like maybe like the creative part, like like the media part, like the image that you might want to use or video you might want to use. You have to think about who your target market is, like all those things. And so could you make an agent that figures that stuff out based on your product? Yes, you could, right? And so really you can make it do whatever you want it to do. But it's hard to make it automate something unless you understand it. So let's say if you're good at making advertisements, you could make an automation for advertisements, right? If you know the process of doing it, not even that you're really good. Let's say you're not the best copywriter, but you know like AIDA and and stuff like that, and what's in it for me, and like certain things. the
Yeah.
AI probably can do a better job of writing the text if you're not a good copywriter, right? And can
Mhm.
fill in some of the blanks in there. But you do need to know like the whole flow because it can only because you have to tell it what you want it to do. So yes, it can. You're just gonna have to give it the right tools to be able to help you do that.
So could you say, for example, maybe I'm quite behind on this. I'll probably have to go and look at the slides. So could I say, for example, use this automation to create Google Ads that will then market my digital products
Yeah,
and create leads that will then generate sales? Because that's, I'd love to be able to do that. Because for me, that would then be automating the whole process for me rather than being constantly online, so to say.
yeah. You 100% could have it do that. And like I said, it have
Okay.
to go through that whole process of what it takes to make a good Google ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to know what that is, and then tell it to do that for you all the time. Google has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of APIs. I think they have a Google Ads. I haven't done this myself. I think they have a Google Ads
Mm-hmm.
API though that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to be able to actually directly, post an ad directly if you have an account.
Mm-hmm.
I think it allows you to do that. So you should be able to do that whole entire process. And Angela just said they do. So boom, and Angela would know. So
Sorry,
so
Angela
yeah,
said what?
Angela said that they do have that they do have the Google Ads API that lets you automatically programmatically upload your ad. So since they do, then yeah, then you 100% can do it.
Right. Okay.
You
Angela,
just would need to connect. You just need to connect those things.
yeah. You mean we could connect this to our API in the Google Ads space, yeah?
Yes, and I'm gonna show you how to use APIs in general. So once I do, you can use any API. 'Cause I'm not gonna show you 200 APIs,
Okay.
for example, that they have built it automatically. But I'm gonna show you a
Uh-huh.
bunch, and once I show you how to use a few, then you can use any one you want.
Okay.
So you'll be able to do that. As a matter of fact, what I might do, I'm probably gonna send Angela like a DM or something like that later, and maybe I
Mm-hmm.
can see if me and Angela can actually make that. Like when we get
That'd be
further in the class,
great.
we can make that and like make that one of the ones available to people. Maybe let me not say that for a
That'd
fact,
be
but actually I'm gonna say it for a fact. We're gonna do that.
Yay.
I'm gonna ping Angela. I think Angela's game. There we go. Let's go.
Yay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Me and Angela we can make something like that, and then we could make it available. You know, and show people how to do that connection. We'll just do a basic one so that people can customize it whatever way they want with extra stuff. And also, I'm not a copywriter,
Excellent.
so I probably shouldn't be the one worried about that. Cool.
Thank you, Arthur.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Oh, blessing. Is that from before? Or did you have another question? I think that's from before. I'm 99% sure that's from before. Okay, cool. So if there's no other questions, remember next week is the long week. So remember, every other week we have the class and then we have the tech chat, right? So remember, next week we have a tech chat after. So we'll be here until like 10 something next week. So by all means, put that in your calendar. It's on the Digital Boss Code calendar, and I'll see everybody next week at 6 p.m. And remember, don't look for this inside the regular replays. Remember, this is always going to go inside the Code Different course. It's going to go directly in there.
Okay.
All right.
Next week, Saturday, because we only meet every Saturdays, yes?
Yeah, we only meet on Saturday. We meet almost every Saturday.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So next week we'll meet, and then we have the tech chat also right after. So we'll be here till like 10 something p.m. Eastern time. Cool. All right. We'll have a great one, and I will talk to everybody soon.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.